the final part of this four-part interview. Let's talk about the current state of athletics and compare it to the old days, and talk about the good and the bad points. What's the current outlook for, what are our current youngsters up to, and what have they got to look forward to?
Well, I think there's a fantastic crop at the moment, between sort of 11 and 18. Some of the juniors and teenagers we've got at the moment, fantastic. You know, there's the Aston girls, Lauren Whelan in the walking, the Franklin girls, well, Keith Gerald obviously he's a bit older, Tom Richmond, Ben Brand, some really good sprinters.
The opportunities are there. They've got these great opportunities now with the Island Games every 2 years.
That's right.
We've got the Junior Commonwealth Games. Commonwealth Games is still an aspiration for...
I hope so, and that's what they should be aiming for. The standards are very tough, but you know, when I look back to what people were doing years ago, I mean, there were this crop of juniors that they're capable of making the Commonwealth Games. It's just this period between the late teens and early 20s, really, keeping them in the sport and making sure that there's good enough coaches, really, to retain them and to give them all the advice, and the fact that they get regular competition. You know, it's all right having... we've got facilities which we never used to have, of course.
Let's have a chat about that, because one of the great campaigns that started at the moment is to get a velodrome for the cyclists.
Right, yeah.
I love the idea. I think it would be good.
Yes.
But do we use facilities as an excuse sometimes? I remember in the 80s when we had two great hurdlers, Dave Anderson and Dave McCutcheon. There were no facilities then.
No, but you must remember, Dave Anderson actually took a year out where he lived down London. He was training with some really good guys. As I think Dave McCutcheon spent a lot of time away.
So they perfected their technique off the island.
They weren't on the island all the time, and because they were in technical events, you know, they got drew the benefit from that.
And we have got great facilities. Let's not.
We have. I tell you what, I'd love to see. I remember, I think about 2 years ago when I went to Manchester, the indoor track there. I thought that's the only thing I really think we're lacking at the moment. Yeah, we've got this School of Excellence and this building next to the track being put, you know, the physio and everything it's coming together. But I think we would, for indoor training, especially in the winter, we really would prosper.
Of the people the people we see, Di Schimmel's always at the track,
Absolutely.
Andy Fox leading his group, Alan Calloway with the walkers and so on.
Yeah.
Do they need more support, or do we need more coaches or more athletes?
I think they're doing a very good job, those coaches. They produced, I mean, Andy Fox has you know, had some great success there, as Chris Quine has. I know Graham Davis has helped them. They had some great sessions. I think we're always looking for new athletes, but I think we're looking for new coaches as well.
Turning to the road running scene, we've had a revival in recent years. We've had some good entries, particularly more women competing, but you've got to admit that there's a lack of depth of quality.
Yeah, there is.
10 kilometres,
yes, there is.
The 33, the 34-minute runners and so on.
Yeah, that's right, in walking and running. In fact, yeah, there is. I mean, when I go back 20 years ago, 34 minutes would not have won a 10k race over in the Isle of Man.
And yet, strangely, I don't think the standard has fallen so far in cross-country.
No, that's right, because when they go to Lancashire, they compare very well. I don't know what it is, but I think what has dropped off is the standard on the track at the 5,000, 10,000, 1,500. It could be these guys are just not racing on the track, and they're not exposing themselves on the track enough, if you excuse the expression. They're not racing enough.
Well, one of the problems throughout the country is a lack of people staying in the sport that you mentioned before.
Yeah.
Now, I put part of the success of the Lancashire cross country down to the fact that 5 of our 6 runners were, I think, under 30, and so that's a positive sign.
Yeah, that is. It's interesting that, but will those same 5 want to line up in track races? I don't know what it is, but we've the last 20 years there's been a scarcity of track runners. You know, on a Wednesday night, remember when we used to go down Tremode on a Tuesday evening, it was commonplace to see 12 guys lining up for an 8 or a 1500 metres, and they weren't all track specialists.
So the Manx Championships are, at a senior level, are virtually non-existent.
Yeah, they're very poorly supported. And when you think back, the number of years they've campaigned to get a track. I know guys older than me, you know, Albert Johnson was one of quite a few people in the 60s trying to get an athletics track. And as people like myself, when the NSC did come about in 91, we were too old really. We'd lost our day, you know, our speed training. And now, you know, it's there, and the guys who are in the 20s or 30s, they don't want to use it. They seem to prefer road running or cross country.
Back to the Island Games, we saw the start of the Island Games in 1985. A lot of money's gone into supporting the teams. We thought that perhaps by having the opportunity to go to the Island Games, it would remove some of the controversy of selection for the Commonwealths. But we've still got different opinions about how many people we should be sending to the Island Games. After the last Games, the chairman of the Sports Council suggested we should only send people with medal prospects, whereas athletics has, throughout most of that period, has chosen to send maximum strength. What's your view on that?
Where do I sit in between that? Yeah. Well, I've got strong views on the Commonwealth. I think the standards should be strong for the Commonwealth. No question.
Similar to what they are at the moment, or harder?
Definitely not harder. About right at the moment. About right. There's maybe 1 or 2 events.
So do you see the Island Games?
I think they may be a little bit tough, actually.
So do you see the Island Games as a way to the Commonwealth, or are we talking about athletes with different career aspirations?
It could be. I mean, I don't think you should make the standards too soft in the Island Games, because if some of them want to get to the Commonwealth 2 years later, they've got to get used to getting down to some fast times. But I was somewhere in the middle when Jeff Caron said that we should be. So I was sort of in the middle of the 2 arguments, fell between 2 stools really. I think if you start making just potential medalists there, I think it's going to take something away. You should have standards which are fairly competitive and realistic, but not too severe for the Island Games.
The fixture list has evolved over the years with a lot of contrasting and conflicting requirements. If we were to start with a blank sheet of paper, would you change things, or do you think the Manx system is unique and the best there is?
I'm off the school where I think there are too many races, although I don't think it's as bad as it used to be. I think 20 years ago we had like a saturation.
But this might seem strange coming from me, who holds that view very strongly.
Yes.
But the standards were actually a lot higher when we had even more races.
That's right. It's hard to put your finger on why, with all these races years ago, but the standards were still higher.
Is it a mentality? I mean,
I think it could be a mentality.
The Steve Kellys and the Dave.
Some people say people have gone soft these days.
Culturally.
People were training harder. I know Colin Moore has strong views on this. Don't like pain like they used to, or people have just gone soft. I think that's.
I don't know that they always liked pain. They were prepared to push themselves through the pain.
Were. Well,
I think we should draw a distinction there.
Yeah, the bit of adversity never killed anyone. If you haven't got the facilities, with your backs up against the wall, maybe you train harder. I don't know. Maybe everything's too cosy now. I'm not sure.
So to conclude our quite lengthy session of interviews tonight in your very nice home in Peel, 40 years in the sport, do you still enjoy it as much as ever?
I do, and I enjoy watching it as much as I do competing in it.